to American Education FM, everybody. I'm Dr. Sean Brooks. Ladies and gentlemen, in this episode, I have a conversation with Brian Weaver, who's a fellow Ohioan, and he was the IT director for the City of Gahanna in Gahanna, Ohio. He ran the IT systems for the city, the police department, and the school district. He was bullied, discriminated against, and ultimately fired for uncovering mountains of corruption within their city's government. What he will describe is a level of corruption that everyone needs to be made aware of. He highlights the dots that are easily connected, including mass surveillance of children in schools, the deletion of numerous records and video files, the nepotistic nature of these crimes, and he describes a clear line that can be drawn that would lead one to believe that the Ohio Department of Education is directly or indirectly involved with child trafficking. Now, I'm the one that's making that allegation and determination regarding the Ohio Department of Education. But I would encourage anybody to listen to this and hear what Brian says, and I bet that you'll arrive at the exact same conclusion, or at the very least, a similar conclusion. Brian is also deaf, so the audio may not be as clear as some past audios, but he was working through a voice translator when I would ask him a question, and fortunately, I didn't have to ask him hardly anything. He's remarkably thorough, he had tons of notes, and I said, go for it and just lay it all out there, and he did. His websites are makecybergreat.com and makeamazongreat.com, and the makeamazongreat.com site, by the way, he criticizes Amazon thoroughly and goes through a lot of their corruption as well, so it's not maybe what you might think at face value. He's also on Gab at makecybergreat. And again, give this a listen, connect the dots for yourself, and make sure that you understand that such actions are most certainly occurring in your state and where you live too.
All right, so I'll start with my introduction, who I am, how long I've been in law enforcement, how long I've been in IT, and then I'll give credibility on sources that people can go to verify these public records and stuff. I think that's what amazes me. I've been contacting all these media companies, like the local media companies, and they don't want to touch any of this stuff. I am a system administrator for the past 12 years for law enforcement and Ohio government agencies. I've worked for City of Gahanna, City of Gahanna, and Ohio Department of Public Safety. During my 12 years in public safety IT system administrator, I've observed many things that the public and parents are not aware of, and they should be aware of. I was terminated September 1st from Ohio Department of Public Safety. That brought up the school concerns and cybersecurity issues regarding Ohio networks and FBI networks inside of Ohio Department of Public Safety. While I was working for Ohio Department of Public Safety, I worked for Homeland Security. I also worked for Ohio Narcotics and several other state agencies within the Ohio Department of Public Safety. So what I'm going to go through today is, many of you may not know, I'm deaf. I was born 28 weeks, 2 pounds. I'm the smallest baby that survived Children's Hospital. As a result of that, I became deaf early on in my childhood. And to relate to that, there's some movies you can watch that's been brought out by Hollywood and various movies. First one is FBI, Sue Thomas. And the second one would be My Name is Jonah. And them two will show how I know what's going on, because I have very good lip reading skills, and I'm able to eavesdrop and listen or see conversations going on within the law enforcement for the past 12 years of what law enforcement has been hiding from the public. And since I'm an IT system administrator, I can see all the records and data that will be deleted or omitted from the public. And as a result of reporting the misconduct within the law enforcement, including the Ohio Attorney General's office, one thing I forgot to mention earlier, the City of Grove, inside the City of Grove City is the Ohio Attorney General's Organized Crime Unit. The Organized Crime Unit is primarily focused on child and drug trafficking for the state of Ohio. Back then, in 2011, when I when May started. I believe Governor DeWine was the Ohio Attorney General back then, and he's now the governor of Ohio. So he is fully aware of these incidents and refused to investigate or use law enforcement to cover up these things. So first I'll start off letting the schools and children, these are things that parents need to be aware, get involved in your school board and request public records. So the first thing I'm going to go through is security cameras in the schools. In March 2018, I take this back. When I worked for the City of Grove City, there's a company called Sound Communication. Sound Communication is a company in Ohio that is installing security cameras in all cities and law enforcement offices and education buildings and schools. I don't have an issue. I personally installed the security cameras and installed the system. The system called Milestone. Milestone has artificial intelligence, which will have facial recognition, and it can track, use social media and other various reports to track the citizens and students. I don't have an issue with them using them in the schools, and I don't have an issue of them using them in law enforcement. The issue that I had is I was in a meeting in March 2018. The City of Gahanna police chief and administration was trying to force me as an IT system administrator to hack or connect into the school's network and security cameras to monitor students, teachers, and parents at the football games, and other social events, and without the school knowing. I felt very against this, so because I am deaf and hard of hearing, I repeatedly asked the City of Gahanna administration to put things in writing as part of my ADA accommodation. And they repeatedly refused to do to put things in writing, or tasks they wanted me to do in writing, because they did not want the public to know, and they did not want it to be public record. So in March 2018, the Milestone system was connected from the law enforcement City of Gahanna to the City of Gahanna school districts, monitoring teachers, parents, and schools without their knowledge. When I was in the meeting, I asked to be in writing. They refused to put it in writing. And I also asked, before I can do any connection, that there will be a written school policy or some communication or documentation from the school board or from parents knowing that the law enforcement is connected into the school security camera system to monitor without their acknowledgement. They harassed me and they excluded me from meetings at that point. Then a few days later, my coworker, network administrator, Brandon McCorkle, was acting very strange, and I casually asked him, I'm the only person that was in the meetings, and I casually asked him, did you make any changes to the network or firewall? And he admitted, yes, but I didn't want to get in trouble and lose my job, because he had two daughters that also go to the Gahanna schools. So if you look at the firewall and request public records from the City of Gahanna, you'll see this incident happened back in March 2018. Okay. You can look at, so if you go to the firewalls, I apologize for the disconnection.
Okay.
If you go to the firewall in City of Gahanna and request public records, the records you can request, the email address is records@gahanna.gov. You can also request records from BCI@OhioAttorneyGeneral.gov. B as in boy, C as in cat, I as in India, which is Bureau of Criminal Investigation. You can request public records from them email addresses, and you'll find out they're going to deny it, or they will delay it. So in public records, they will deny your records, they will omit your records, or they will not respond to your public records request. This is a common tactic that they've used in my 12 years in public records and IT law enforcement. Seeing this, public records is part of the Freedom Information Act. In Ohio, we have what's called Ohio Sunshine Law, which is underneath the Ohio Attorney General's office, which was when Ohio Governor DeWine was the Ohio Attorney General over a decade ago, and then he's now recently Ohio Governor. So you can request these records to verify everything I say. But what was happening was Brandon McCorkle connected to the school system, or hacked into the school system, so that way the police department milestone system can connect to the City of Gahanna schools milestone system and monitor and record everything that's going on. So that's been going on since March 2018, and as a very concerned parent and citizen, I had a conversation with Governor Mike DeWine on February 25th, 2020. I reported him and reported issues with him in his office, and I had permission to go to the school. So I went to City of Gahanna School, and I spoke to, at first I went to the Clark State Career Academy and spoke to the secretary and asked if I could speak to the special education director. What I do is I use my advocacy for disability education and deaf awareness to enter into these government offices. And as I walk into these offices and government buildings, bringing deaf awareness or disability awareness, they always invite me in and are receptive to me speaking because it relates to my second part while I was working in law enforcement, asking for these things to be in writing per my ADA accommodation. You go to my website, Make Ohio Great or MakeCyberGreat.com. You can also follow me on Gab.com, which is social media, and my handle is Make Cyber Great. And as you'll hear, I recorded the meeting. As a result of them not putting task in writing, they started harassing me and the other IT people. And you'll hear where I recorded the meeting, them saying, "Turn up your effing bell tone, you mother effing deaf guy, you effing idiot. We don't put that in writing. You don't tell anybody." Well, and they were constantly harassing us in the IT department and even threatening us with guns and tasers. So as a result of all that the City of Gahanna is trying to sue me because one of the comments they made is it is illegal in the state of Ohio to record and install law enforcement meetings without their acknowledgement. But because of my disability being deaf, I requested ADA accommodations of them putting things in writing, and they used to. And you'll hear another reporting on my website. They said, we don't have to put things in writing. We don't have to do your accommodation. Find your own accommodation. Well, as a deaf person, I decided to record the meeting as part of my accommodation. So I am protected under the federal ADA law, which will supersede the state of Ohio law, where it's illegal to record. I've been waiting for a lawsuit since December 2018, and I still have not had trials or anything because the City of Gahanna is continually delaying the court process, because once I go to court with this information, then everything will be exposed. But I'm letting the public know now, because we are now seeing the full effects of what I reported as far back in 2018, 2019 of what's happening in our schools, where our government is doing overreach and not listening to the parents and now considering parent domestic terrorism for the exact same things that are brought up in 2018, 2019. So as a result, you can also, so if you're a parent in a school, three things you should always check for your public records within your school district and your law enforcement is look for anything that has a system called Milestone, which is security artificial facial recognition that's used against parents, students, and teachers inside the schools. And you can look through these records by requesting purchase orders or emails. Now, there's several different levels of the milestone system. The different levels they have in milestone systems are, you have milestone essentials, milestone express, milestone professional, milestone expert, and milestone corporate. The only thing that schools and law enforcement would really need would be the professional edition, no more than the professional edition, because they can do all the features. But what they're doing is they're getting milestone corporate. What milestone corporate edition does, it allows you to attach several different video cameras together from different entities or different agencies, and that corporate edition allows you to do that, and there's no reason for them to have that. So by by them having milestone corporate, you'll see what they're trying to do within our law enforcement in school, overreaching children privacy laws and citizen privacy laws. So as a result of all this, I went to the city. Like I said earlier, I went to the school to talk to them about my disability advocacy program with the permission of Governor DeWine on February 25th, 2020. As I walked into school, I had permission to go across the street and speak to the principal and the special education director. When I went across the street to the school, City of Gahanna fully knows who I am and fully recognized my vehicle. When I went across the street, as soon as I was across the street, I stepped outside my vehicle. You can see the video on my website, makecybergreat.com. As soon as I stepped outside, I decided to wait because at this time when I went across the street, all the school buses were coming and picking up, and parents were coming in picking up their children. So I decided to just stand by my truck with my disability advocacy program and wait for the traffic to clear so that way I can go in the building and speak to these individuals and let them know and ask for public records. While I was waiting, the City of Gahanna, Lieutenant Moffitt and another officer came up and attempted to arrest me for trespassing and causing disturbance in the school. You can watch the video on my website, and you can also request the public records. I will publicly give you can ask the City of Gahanna for call for service numbers, which is CFS, call for service number on February 26, 2020. The call for service number is 20-4800. So if you get that record, you can ask for the radio transmission in the video that the officers had in their cruiser to verify everything I'm saying, because they're trying to keep us silent. Now, keep in mind, this is February 26, 2020, when this was happening, before all the coronavirus, that the citizens were never aware. And I've contacted the Ohio Attorney General, Board of Education, and they refused to look into it. Matter of fact, shortly after I contacted the Board of Education, Lloyd Kohler, who was the president of the Ohio Board of Education, resigned. I have a letter you can from Ohio Board of Education. It's dated October 19, 2020. The letter said, the letter is subject is student tracking Gahanna schools by police department without school board or parent permission since 2018. This is, and the email address is Laura Kohler at education.ohio.gov. You can request this record, and the State of Ohio Board of Education is fully aware of the students being tracked by law enforcement using security cameras. The letter states, this is the same message I shared with you in June. This is outside the jurisdiction of the State of Ohio Board of Education. So basically, the State of Ohio Board of Education don't care what parents say, don't care that the IT staff and city employees and state employees reporting illegal activities violating our citizen and student privacy laws. So as a result of that, they tried to arrest me at the school and gave the City of Gahanna and City of Gahanna schools gave me a cease-to-cease letter and no trespassing letter, trying to silence me as an IT system administrator, letting the public know what's really going on within our government and law enforcement agencies. So that's something that you should be aware of as a parent to try to make sure that your kids are being saved.
What do you think, in your opinion, they're doing with this milestone system? And do you think that they're handing off this security footage to a third party?
I can only speak for what I know, but what I can testify to is that they are recording, and I can testify, which leads to the second, that they have artificial intelligence. They can track you through your social media, putting square boxes around your face. It's similar to what the social credit system, I believe, is what people are talking about. I'm not too familiar with that, but it has the ability to categorize people and categorize things. It can tell whether you have mask on, don't have mask on, whether you're 6 feet apart. So it's a very, I believe there's more to it. I don't want to say anything publicly because they're not providing any public records that I requested. I have my own assumptions and stuff, but I'm not comfortable publicly saying anything because, again, I've been waiting 2 years for these public records. But my speculation is they're using it against us for whatever reasons that law enforcement and schools choose to do. I don't think it's in the best interest for the kids to do this because if they were truly for us and they would be transparent what they're doing, they would have policy. The school board would let the parents know what's happening, that law enforcement has the ability to do this. Matter of fact, right after this incident happened, the school resource officer, who was African-American, Marvin Hickson, retired. And I had a conversation with him prior to him retiring, and it was very appalling. It's very concerning because every cop knows this. They're just scared to speak out of what's really going on inside the law enforcement. They have they have to follow command no matter what, whether they agree with it or not, which cause a lot of morality issues with seeing law enforcement quitting, resigning, and I've even seen them commit suicide because they want to tell people, they want people to be safe, but they can't say anything because they'll lose their $50, $60, $70 job. Matter of fact, I lost my $40 an hour job for reporting the truth, trying to protect my children, protect your children, protect the children to come. And we are living in a society where no one speaks up, and if you do speak up, you are criticized or you're terminated instead of following what the U.S. Constitution states, that we should have freedom and following our existing laws. And that existing law would be the citizen privacy laws and the children privacy laws that our education don't care. And for the reason how Attorney General does not care. Matter of fact, even as a state employee, I was not allowed to enter the Ohio Attorney General or Governor DeWine's office. This would be Rose Tower and Rice Tower in Columbus, Ohio. So that's to speak volume to why they're silencing the IT people. Why? Matter of fact, the Ohio Department of Public Safety, there's 40 of us on the third floor at the Ohio Department of Public Safety, 40 IT people. Within the last few weeks, I believe over 25 of us have quit or resigned. So that's to speak volume what's going on within our law enforcement and IT systems. A lot of records are being manipulated, deleted, a lot of cyber issues going on. That's caused a lot of concerns, and we're being told to be quiet, shut up, don't say nothing, don't document these things. So it's bringing a lot of concerns just overall within our IT system. Then we need more accountability, and we need more people to speak up. So if you are law enforcement that's listening to this, or a former IT person that works for government, please speak up, because we need more people to speak up to bring the truth of what's really going on within our cybersecurity and within violations of our laws that we have. I was terminated from City of Gahanna, reporting these violations of law, FBI criminal justice laws. The other thing that was happening, one, there was deletion of records, deletion of emails, deletion of election data. There was also, they were deleting public records, they're asking us to delete public records, delete phone logs, emails, law enforcement videos, drug trafficking photos, Ohio election data. And I reported all this prior to me being terminated from City of Gahanna in August 6, 2019. So I reported these issues, and 6 days prior to me being terminated from, along with disability harassment, turn up your effing bell tones, you effing deaf guy. And if you go to my website, makeohiogreat.com or makecybergreat.com, you'll see my meeting with the Ohio Attorney General, EEOC, which is Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. The Ohio Attorney General's office is in charge of the EEOC, which enforces the ADA laws in the state of Ohio. The Ohio Attorney General, you'll see in my meeting with the Ohio Attorney General, they did not provide me an ASL interpreter I requested, even though they knew the meeting was on disability, death, discrimination, and lack of accommodation. So again, they can't even do their own laws. But you'll see in the meeting with the Ohio Attorney General, EEOC, they didn't provide me an interpreter. And you'll also see in the meeting that the language, turn up your effing bell tones, you mother effing deaf guy, you effing idiot, is acceptable language within the law enforcement staff meetings that they were directed towards me. And there's many other things that happened in these meetings. And the Ohio Attorney General Commissioner Brad Dunn states that the language is acceptable, and many of the committee members also stated that it wasn't acceptable, and they still deem that the language is acceptable. And also during this meeting, Joel King is a resident of City of Gahanna. He used to be the police chaplain for City of Gahanna. He quit being the police chaplain for obvious reasons that I'm stating. But he was in the meeting, present in the meeting with the Ohio Attorney General during my hearing. And while he was there, him and his nephew were there and said this is government protecting government. And Joel King is, I can't remember if he's cousin or nephew of Martin Luther King. So that should speak to volumes that we have a civil rights leader's family member in these meetings and also a state and government protecting government. And he was the police chaplain for City of Gahanna and fully aware of the corruption and the vulgarity inside the City of Gahanna Police Department. And the Ohio Attorney General states that the language is acceptable and it did not violate my ADA accommodations asking for things to be in writing, such as them asking me to delete these videos, phone logs, emails, and that should speak volume what the House Attorney General is covering it and how our government's covering it in the state of Ohio, and it violates the FBI criminal justice law, which brings my second point into this thing. 6 days before I was terminated, August 6, 2019, many of you may or may not know Plex. Plex is a torrent bit, is a piracy, to download piracy movies and music. My coworker in 2017, he was African American, his name is Dallas Whitten. He had downloaded piracy movies and music in 2017, and while he did that, he did not have access to the law enforcement system. He only had access to the City Hall system. The IT director did investigation. They filed a police report on him. I can give you the police report number for verification. The police report number is police report number for Dallas Whitten, who was terminated for downloading piracy movie music. That was not on the law enforcement system. That was not on the FBI criminal justice system. That did not have access to any law enforcement database. It's 17 GAH-19515. So they did an investigation. They terminated him in 2017, which is okay because it's against city policy. Well, the IT director, July 29, 2019, IT director / mayor, Tom Nealon, he's white, did the exact same thing that Dallas did in 2017. You can verify by looking at public records, Plex, Plex, dated July 29, 2019. He did the exact same thing that Dallas did in 2017. But the only difference is Dallas access enforcement databases, CCW permit information, the taxpayers' W-2 information, and all that. The IT director, Mayor Tom Nealon, did. He had access not only to the law enforcement databases, the law enforcement databases were unsecured. So he had access to W-2 information databases. He had access to CCW databases. CCW information, law enforcement personal information, and every City of Gahanna taxpayers information. And by him downloading these illegal piracy movies and movies using Plex on July 29th, that was reported on July 29, 2019. By him downloading that, he opened the firewall and allowed foreign entities come through our firewall, come through the law enforcement network, go through the lead, and have access to the lead network and lead information to get the information, all the WT information, all the databases, all the pretty much everything on our network that was unsecured. And by him being the IT director, he had administrative access to everything, and he exposed foreign entity through our network to access information. I was terminated 6 days later after this was reported on August 6, 2019. I reported again this to the Ohio Attorney General and FBI and Department of Justice. No investigation done. The City of Gahanna didn't do an investigation. So, like, doing this, he exposed every Ohio law enforcement how to have given information through this network. And by exposing this, here we are, 2021. We heard in September 2021, when I was fired from Ohio Department of Public Safety, that the State of Ohio auditor announced $5 billion was lost in Ohio unemployment fraud. And if you track, again, the City of Gahanna will not release the IP address. The IP address will identify the origination and target of the devices. Again, I cannot publicly release that information because the City of Gahanna is not releasing it. But you can request the information, but they're going to deny it or they won't respond to you. And that's looking for a public records request, July 29, 2019. The email address to request a public record is records@gahanna.gov. So here we are. We have these corruption, we have these violation of these laws, and we are now facing the consequences of $5 billion unemployment fraud. We're now facing consequences of schools not listening to the parents, calling them domestic terrorists, and all these things going on right now. So, and the other thing is the mayor and IT director was a former AT&T worker. By him working at AT&T, he changed the phone systems, and by changing the phone system, you also see public records of phone calls, phone recordings not being recorded on our 911 radio traffic and law enforcement. And you got to ask us, why are they changing the phone system? Why are they changing the finance systems? Why are they changing the security camera system? Because they're trying to hide something within our government. And I have all the records. I can see what they're hiding, but I publicly can't announce it because they're not releasing public records. And I have to wait for court to publicly announce everything that's going on. So the other thing that brings to is child trafficking. Ohio is the fourth largest in child trafficking in the United States of America. Back in 2015, when I worked for City of Grove City, again, as I stated earlier, the Ohio Attorney General's Organized Crime Unit is located in the City of Grove City. I was involved in setting up the phone system for City of Grove City, and the Ohio Attorney General's Organized Crime Unit is on the same phone network. We created an anonymous tip line. The anonymous tip line is not anonymous. You can see the call ID clear as day when that tip line comes through. I was told to be quiet, don't tell anybody, back in 2014 when I set the system up. But in 2015, I take that back, December 8, 2021, Ben Rutain was arrested at Norton Middle School, which is here in Grove City, Ohio. He was arrested for having a sexual relationship with a 14-year-old girl. Ben Rutain is 41 years old. And you may ask how I know so much about him. Well, in 2015, while I was working for the City of Grove City, Ben Rutain came into the City of Grove City Police Department, and there was a trafficking involved incident. I can't go into it because they're not releasing public records. There was a trafficking involved incident that I saw with my own eyes inside the 911 dispatch room while the officers were there. And they covered it up. The video of him coming through the hallway was deleted. He was wearing a black shirt, white lettering, and he had a tattoo on his right arm. That's all I can say at this time. But the lieutenant in charge of that investigation was Lieutenant Jeff Lawless. So what was happening, Lieutenant Jeff Lawless then retained the suspect in 2015. Lieutenant Lawless' secretary is Lloyd Retained, which is his mother. Now, Lieutenant Lawless not only worked for Grove City, he's also a part of, so Lieutenant Lawless and Lloyd Retained, who is his receptionist, his secretary, are under Grove City Support Services, which is underneath SOB, which is Special Operations Bureau, which does drug and child trafficking for the Ohio Attorney General's Organized Crime Unit. So this was fully aware in 2015 of Lieutenant Lawless was supposed to investigate this, did not investigate this. Also, to make it even better, more suspicious, Ben Retaine's wife is the Grove City receptionist at the time also. So we had Grove City receptionist Tasha Retained, his wife, Lloyd Retained, who is Lieutenant Lawless' secretary or assistant, part of the SOB unit, which is the Ohio Organized Crime Unit. No investigation happened. The video of him walked away, and shortly after this incident happened in 2015, the Grove City Police Chief, Jeff Pearson, transferred to Hilliard, and after this incident, Lieutenant Lawless transferred to City of Gahanna, and now, while I was working for City of Gahanna, he transferred to City of Gahanna and Deputy Chief of City of Gahanna. So he's working in the City of Gahanna, and City of Gahanna, many of you may or may not know, is located right next to the Columbus International Airport. So he's working for City of Gahanna. He gets the job at City of Gahanna. I get terminated months after he gets the police chief job at City of Gahanna because he knows what I know. And after they terminate me, they Tasha Retained, which had been Retaine's wife in 2015, was working in Grove City. After this incident in 2015, Tasha Retained became Franklin County Prosecutor's Criminal Division Office and worked for Franklin County Prosecutor Criminal Division Office. And then in 2019, when Lieutenant Lawless transferred to the City of Gahanna, became Chief of City of Gahanna, Tasha Retained was then offered a job within City of Gahanna, working for Lieutenant Lawless. So there's a lot of things going on. And then this is in 2019. Here we are, December 8th, 2021. Somebody spoke to the 14-year-old girl and said, "Speak up." And this 14-year-old girl spoke to the Franklin County Sheriff's Office. Somebody in Franklin County Sheriff's Office didn't get the memo from Grove City or Hilliard law enforcement and arrested him. So, as I stated earlier, Ohio is the fourth largest trafficking unit and fourth largest trafficking in the state of Ohio. You can see my video speaking to the Education Senate Committee. You can see my video where I'm speaking to them, and while I was speaking to them, telling the same story I am now, the Sergeant Arms came in, grabbed me, and silenced me and escorted me out of the office. And you can see my video on my website. And you have to ask yourself, why are they silencing people? Well, as I stated earlier, City of Gahanna is part of the Ohio Organized Crime Unit along the city of Grove City. And the City of Gahanna is located 1 mile east of Columbus International Airport. 5 miles west of Gahanna is New Albany. Well, New Albany, we had $20 billion Intel processing being built last week. But also in New Albany is Victoria's Secret headquarters. Victoria's Secret headquarters is the CEO of Victoria's Secret is Lex Wessner. And if you look at Lex Wessner, he's worth $10 billion. He's the richest man in Ohio. And he had business ties with Jeffrey Epstein. So if you look at City of Gahanna's public records, you can verify with public records that officers are bodyguards for Victoria's Secret CEO of the management team. So And as I stated earlier, they're asking me to delete drug and trafficking photos in the City of Gahanna systems. I can only provide public records. You can verify all this by going to records.gahanna.gov. While I was working in the City of Gahanna, and I saw the incidents happening, and I also saw that the drug evidence files were getting corrupted or locked up within the system, and I was reprimanded by the HR director and IT director for documenting these lockups of the systems. And if you go on the website, makecybergreat.com or makeahagreat.com, you can see more. You can see more detailed evidence of what I'm explaining, how the records got locked up and all that. But going back to the child trafficking, and also that I wanted to do it goes to school principal and how Board of Education Assistant Director. Ohio Attorney General, Ohio school officials, Grove City and Gahanna Police Department protect trafficking customers and not the children or victims, because we know that trafficking is a $150 billion industry. And as I stated before, Jeffrey Epstein's house, Victoria's Secret headquarters, CEO Lex Wexner, are all right next to the Columbus International Airport, which is where City of Gahanna is located. On a side note, City of Gahanna, or Gahanna, Gahanna in Hebrew means the gateway to hell, which I find is ironic. As I stated earlier, you can do the research on City of Gahanna. There's been a lot of corruption in the City of Gahanna, but the media won't touch it because I believe there's big influences. I won't mention who, but I can speculate who's influencing people to be quiet in that area with the City of Gahanna. So to also make it even more unusual, in routine in 2015, the guy that I told you that came in for trafficking, in a trafficking involved incident in 2015, no investigation happened. Senate Lawless did not do an investigation, and I was there, and several of us IT witnessed this incident happening, and we were told to shut up, be quiet, and leave the room. But at the same time, he was Teacher of the Year award for the Southwestern School District. The same day that I went to the State House to speak, you can see it on OhioChannel.gov, December 14th, underneath the Education Committee meeting, where the Sergeant Arms grabbed my arm and pulled me out of the meeting while I was publicly speaking, and I had the floor to speak. So you can see my video there speaking to the education, majority leader, I think we'd call him, Andrew Brenner, verbally said in the meeting, and you can see in the video, meet with me after the meeting to discuss this ongoing issues that's happening in our schools regarding security cameras and deletion of records and child trafficking, and what the schools are, how the Department of Education is doing covering up the child trafficking. I still have not. I've met with his office several times the past weeks, and they emailed me. They said they'd meet me in a half hour before the meeting. They canceled the meeting, so I still have not met with Andrew Brenner. So you have to ask yourself. But that same day, I spoke on December 14th, 2021, where they escorted me out of the Senate while I was publicly speaking as a private citizen. After I went there, I went to the Ohio Attorney General's office, as I usually do. Again, they wouldn't allow me in the building. I went to Governor DeWine's office, and they wouldn't allow me in the building. They said I've been on a watch list since January 2020. But I've never been given any official notification or any official documentation why I'm on a watch list, or I don't understand. They could never explain anything in writing. But that same day when I was denied interest to meet with my House Lieutenant at the State House, and I was denied interest to meet with the Ohio Inspector General, the Ohio Attorney General, and Governor DeWine's office, I was denied interest. So I went down to 37 West Broad Street, which is right next to the Ohio Attorney General and Ohio Governor's office. And inside of 37 West Broad Street, Huntington Plaza is a nonprofit anti-human trafficking group called PCSAO, which is Public Children Safety Association Organization. That conveniently is located right next to the Ohio Board of Education. Again, keep in mind, this building is a nonprofit organization, has nothing to do with the state. It's not involved with the state in any way, shape, or form. I've never been to that building. I've always been to the State House, the Ohio Attorney General's office, Inspector General's office, and Governor Lyon's office. Never been in this building before. And I walked in the building and asked if I can go to Suite 1100, where this organization is located. And the security guard said, "You're not allowed in the building." I'm sorry, the security guard asked for my name. I said, "My name's Brian Weaver." And all of a sudden, he gets on his radio, starts saying code blue, and a supervisor comes running down, and they ask for my ID, and I showed him my ID and said, "Here's my name, Brian Weaver." He said, "You're not allowed in the building." And I said, "Why not?" "Well, we got a note saying you're not allowed in the building." I said, "Where?" Well, they showed me the note, and you can see it on my Gab account, gab.com. My handle, Make Cyber Great. You can see the picture of the note, security guard, and video and everything. And the note said, "Brian Weaver is not allowed in the building, announced code blue." But they spelled my last name Weever instead of Weaver. So I told the security guard that's not my last name. And they couldn't give me an explanation. And I chose, I repeatedly asked them to record the video of them not allowing me in the building. So I walked out of the building, took pictures, and so there's something going on in the state of Ohio, Board of Education, the Ohio Attorney General's office, the Inspector General's office, and the State House, covering something major here in the state of Ohio. When I went to an nonprofit anti-trafficking group that had nothing to do with the state and not allowed in the building when I'd never been there before. So I'm not understanding, and again, this is December 4th, 2021. So I would highly encourage you, if you're a parent, to speak up in your school board meeting, ask for these public records regarding security cameras, monitoring, and spying on your children, teachers, without any written documentation of policy, and ask if law enforcement or any other government agencies are hacked or connected to your security camera system without any acknowledgement. And also to bring accountability to school boards and our government leaders to crack down on child trafficking, and ask why there not being more effort, and why are people like me in the IT department, like I stated earlier, in the Ohio Department of Public Safety, is Homeland Security, the anti-trafficking group, Ohio Narcotics, why 25 out of 40 of us have quit in the past several weeks. Because there's something going on within our government that I can't announce publicly because they're not releasing public records. To make it even more, you can also ask for public records also. The Ohio Department of Public Safety email address is adcentralrecords at dps.ohsp.gov, and you can request public records from them. While I was at the State of Ohio Public Safety, as I stated earlier, 25 out of 40 of us have resigned. I'm sure more has. They're not releasing public records. I've asked for public records, a list of people that resigned or transferred out of the Ohio Department of Public Safety ID department, and they're not provided records. They're not providing numerous public records I've requested. That I really don't need them. So during this time when a lot of people were quitting and resigning from the Ohio Department of Public Safety, which is Department of Homeland Security, Narcotics, and Human Trafficking Unit, there's a lot of documented cybersecurity issues. A lot of law enforcement and narcotic laptops and records were missing or deleted. Again, you can request public records. All Ohio Department of Public IT management are required to attend trust and integrity workshop for the next 6 months due to ongoing data and management misconduct. And the Ohio Department of HR is not releasing the IT department survey results from the February 2021 meeting. That survey, from my assumption, was very poor based on me working in IT, everyone knows the culture and environment there was very dysfunctional, asking us to be quiet, not document nothing. But if you have criminal justice state that time the cybersecurity breach, as I stated earlier, City of Gahanna mayor breached the BNB data and such as that. He breached all that, and the Ohio Department of Education, Ohio Department of Public Safety is fully aware of that, of the breach and the FBI violation. They chose not to investigate it, and here we are. Matter of fact, the Ohio Attorney General requested the Ohio Department of Public Safety and City of Columbus to investigate the $5 billion lost from Ohio unemployment. Again, they're not providing public records on that, and they're trying to silence the IT people how we lost $5 billion of the Ohio unemployment fund. And if you do the connections and the emails as far back as 2018 that documented of cybersecurity issues happening with our networks and government, and you watch my videos at makecybergreat.com, you'll hear law enforcement and government officials demanding to shut up, be quiet, you effing deaf guy, you effing idiot, don't tell anybody, we'll have the cops knocking on your door, and several other threats. Matter of fact, 3 of us in the IT department have been threatened with guns and tasers during these incidents to remain quiet and not say anything, which will be revealed in my lawsuit in court. But the Ohio Attorney General will not investigate any of this, and I'm sorry, there's a lot going on. I can't get together in a nice format. Is there any questions you had, Sean, that can maybe bring more ideas?
That's more than enough. I mean, you said more than enough. It's absolutely incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And again, if this is happening in Ohio, there's no way that it's not happening everywhere. We're talking about potentially an entire state Department of Education engaging in the surveillance of children for the purpose of child trafficking.
One more thing you brought my attention. Dallas, Texas, in April 2020, they deleted 40 terabytes of data. They were aware of this in April 2020. The administration was fully aware of it. Again, any incident like this should be reported to the FBI Department of Justice. And then, ironically, June 2020, a suspect was going to trial, and they noticed that the evidence was missing. Well, they did trace back, and it was in that 40 terabyte. And then the administration, the city administration, law enforcement administration, then all of a sudden admitted, yeah, we lost 40 terabytes of data, but we blah, 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 blah. They were covering up. Basically, they knew about it, but didn't do nothing about it, didn't report nothing about it. Well, the same incident happened. This was April 2020 with Dallas PD Department. So, to City of Gahanna, I can testify the same thing happened here. 140 terabytes of data were unsecured. I forgot to bring this part up too. The mayor of City of Gahanna, IT director and mayor, again, they were former AT&T workers. They switched phone companies, I believe, pay-to-play activities, because the phone company, FutureCom is a new phone company here in the state of Ohio. FutureCom was the CEO of FutureCom is a former AT&T worker that worked with the IT director and mayor of City of Gahanna, Tom Nealon. He started his own company, and City of Gahanna switched to FutureCom. And by switching to FutureCom, you can look at the address. The address of FutureCom is 474 Whitley Drive, Suite 100, Columbus, Ohio 43230. It's located in the City of Gahanna. But if you Google that address or happen to drive that area, it appears to be the address saying Suite 100 appears to be like a business, right? No, this is operating as a guy's basement in a residential house in the City of Gahanna, FutureCom. And this is the same phone company that's being used in our schools and in our local government system, which is a violation of FBI criminal justice law because they have to meet certain any law enforcement phone calls or data have to be secured and have to meet certain criteria for security, which is why we're having all these cybersecurity issues, because our politicians are picking the cheapest or their friends or buddies IT services with just not the FBI criminal justice law. And by picking these people to get, in my opinion, pay-to-play activities, well, there is records, City of Gahanna, where a phone company would contribute money to nonprofit organization. The IT director's nonprofit organization is NanCan, and the mayor's nonprofit organization is Make Gahanna Yours. And there is public records stating that the phone company would contribute money to their nonprofit organization in their son. Again, how ethics will not investigate any of this. They say it's outside their jurisdiction. But again, all law enforcement phone calls, data must be FBI criminal justice certified, and the vendors that the government and law enforcement agencies are selecting are not FBI criminal justice certified. Which brings me to my second point with the mayor and IT director. We switched to like I said, they kept switching finance system, email system, and not notifying us in the IT department. By switching these IT vendors without notifying us in the IT department, it caused phones not to work, phone recordings not to work, loss of data, various things I can't mention right now because they're not providing public records. But it caused a lot of cybersecurity issues. So the phone information and law enforcement are not following FBI criminal justice law, which is operating in the guy's house. And the City of Gahanna states that the phone logs are not available. They don't have phone logs, which is a direct lie because I'm the IT system administrator and I can see the phone logs. And number two, we all know that when you swipe doors in a business, it logs who swiped it in, what time they swiped it in, what door they swiped it in. I did public records requests. Now, my public records requests are anonymous. They don't know it's me. Again, I'm the IT guy, and I can see what's being deleted, what's being covered up. And this is how I'm able to discover these things. So as I'm making these public records requests, the City of Gahanna states they do not keep door access log records. Okay, if that's true, then you just violated the FBI criminal justice law. Because the FBI criminal justice law state that all records must be kept in law enforcement, who accessed the drug evidence room, who accessed the dispatcher's room, the 911 dispatcher's room, who accessed certain areas of the building, and there have to be logs who accessed it, even the swipes. Again, I can see the door access log in the City of Gahanna state don't keep those logs, which is again violates against their own law. So what I can tell you, or I can publicly tell you this, because so the reading, like I said, City of Gahanna is 1 mile west of, 1 mile east of Columbus International Airport. We all know the airport is the central hub where trafficking comes through. What I noticed while I was working for City of Gahanna is that the were in the weight room. The weight room was accessible for all city employees. And that's all I'm going to say about that. And then I also noticed that drug evidence files and photos. I've been asked to delete drug trafficking photos verbally, and I requested it in writing, and they refused to do it in writing. This was early on during my career. And I did delete the records. I think these photos and records were in the range of 6,000 to 9,000. I can't remember at the time. I have to look at my notes. 6,000 to 9,000 photos is what would be deleted. Again, they would not put it in writing. And so during my time there, I started connecting the dots. If you watched the movie I said earlier, FBI Sue Thomas, me as a deaf person, I can read people's lips. I can read people's body language. I can look at a security camera and tell you what you're saying. So you can probably speculate. I have a lot of inside knowledge that most people aren't aware by reading lips. You'll see by watching that movie, FBI Sue Thomas. And ironically, FBI Sue Thomas, she's a good family friend of mine. My grandpa and her are real great friends. And she lived in Youngstown, Ohio. And my grandpa and her grew up together. So it's a good movie to watch to get an understanding of the deaf culture and how I'm able to, I would call myself FBI Sue Thomas too. I mean, it's the same thing, the same story she shared. It's the same thing I went through where we can read people's lips. And being a person that's deaf but with a disability, unfortunately, we are very, we're looked down upon. We have a disability. And they think that we're deaf and dumb, the common word being used, deaf, blind, and dumb. Because they've already got that biased opinion that we're stupid. And I'm walking by, and I can see the conversation with police chief and various officials. Don't worry about it. The mother effing deaf guy can't hear us. Yeah, I can read your lip, and I may or may not be recording also. Which, in the state of Ohio, is illegal to record, but again, I asked for accommodations, and they refused my federal ADA accommodations. So I did record the meetings and conversations at law enforcement because I noticed there's severe corruption going inside of law enforcement working 12 years. Now, I want to take note that I support law enforcement 100%. You know, I have family and friends in law enforcement. I support them. I feel sorry for them, because a lot of them, in my opinion, are cowards, not willing to speak up, that their job is more important than children's lives, more important than... but for that reason, they know what's happening. They don't speak up because of fear of retaliation, such as myself. And I've also, like I said, I have many friends and family, so I support it. Many officers are great. They follow the law. We're just being placed in very compromising situation that many officers won't speak about because of fear of losing their job. But the big thing for me was there's a missing kid in the City of Gahanna. And if you're watching our videos at makecybergreat.com or makeohiogreat.com, you'll hear them harassing me, documenting, don't document why the 911 system went down when there's a missing kid. They couldn't send out a mass alert because the system went down. And again, I was told not to document, and that was kind of like my tipping point. I'm like, I'm done. I'm done covering up. When we're affecting people's lives that can't speak, children that can't speak, and then it turned into affecting people with disabilities, anyone that's different, discrimination, whether your race, your gender, anyone that was different than them, they started discriminating. And that was really my tipping point when I really started documenting everything, starting to connect the dots, why they want me to read the records verbally instead of in writing, which will be presented in the court of law. Why they started switching vendors, phone vendors, email vendors, finance systems. They didn't want the left hand to see the right hand, so they really had two books. They had, matter of fact, City of Gahanna had two security camera systems, GeoVision and Milestone. Why do you need two different security systems? Same with the phone systems. They had two phone systems, Mitel and FutureCom. Why do you need two different phone systems? Finance systems, same thing. So from 2018 to 2019, they just started switching all these systems without letting us in the IT department know, which caused a lot of red flags because all these systems started breaking, and my coworkers and I, network administrator, we didn't know why, and we're asking the IT director, did you make any changes? Oh yeah, we switched companies. Why didn't you tell us? You don't worry about it, just do your job. Well, why didn't we have a meeting to discuss this? Well, started looking in the email and public records. It's because of, in my opinion, pay-to-play activities that the state of Ohio investigate. let's bring the second point. Helo Tech. Helo Tech is a local IT company. They are the biggest sponsor of Columbus Blue Jackets. The IT director and mayor have friends inside of them. There are no people inside of them. And again, they switch backups to a Helo Tech. So we all know that a cloud is where you store backup data. By law, our clouds or backups must be encrypted. Number two, they must be stored on United States servers, cloud servers, which means cloud servers that are certified in the United States only. And they are certified by FBI Criminal Justice. The Helo Tech, again, they switch vendor, didn't notify us. I'm setting this up, and I'm asking question, hey, you didn't let us know, but is this cloud provider criminal justice certified or FBI criminal justice certified? Well, we'll look into it. I said, well, can you show me the contract? They wouldn't show me any contract. They wouldn't show me any information. Me and my coworkers and I for any information, but we're supposed to set this up without knowing this stuff. Well, that's what I'm talking about, the 140 terabytes of data. So my coworker and I, we started noticing that the database was unencrypted, being stored on cloud servers that are not FBI criminal justice certified. So that means these databases, unsecured, with our W-2 information, with our law enforcement information, with our B&B driver's license information, are stored anywhere in the world, wherever the cheapest cloud servers are, and they're usually not United States servers. Again, the City of Gahanna will not release the IP address, and the IP address will identify the origination and target countries. Now, Helo Tech, again, so once I kept raising these concerns with the IT director, he switched from he finally announced we're not going to use a Helo Tech. And ironically, during the same time while we were doing a Helo Tech, he started wearing blue jackets, hockey sweaters and stuff. Not stating anything, but I'm just making observations what he's wearing. I've been asked to attend Blue Jackets game by Helo Tech, and I refused because I'm a man of honor, integrity, and faith, and I'm fully aware of the Ohio ethics law, and I respectfully decline to attend these hockey games. That's all I'm going to leave it at that. Again, the Ohio Attorney General and the Ohio ethics will not investigate any of this. So by switching the Ohio, they switched when IT director finally said we're going to switch vendors. I couldn't get any reason why. I believe it's because the FBI criminal justice law being violated. Cloud providers were not on United States servers, and the databases were unencrypted. They switched vendors July, and that's about the same time I was terminated. I was placed on paid administrative leave and terminated for bringing up these issues and filing complaint with OSHA, Ohio Ethics, and the Ohio Attorney General's Office of these numerous violations of FBI criminal justice law. So by the mayor switching all the IT directors, switching all these companies, there was a lot of misconduct going on. Also in December 2018, that's when I filed my harassment complaint when the law enforcement refused to thing in writing from my DA combination, started harassing my disability, saying, "You mother effing deaf guy, you effing idiot." This was in December 2018. In November 2018, Mayor Tom Nealon announced he's rerunning for mayor. And he's had petitions signed up, and everyone signed his petition. I made this claim in December 6, 2018. Ironically, a few weeks after that, the mayor announced he decided not to rerun for election and withdraw his petition. He withdrew his petition and said he wants to spend more time with his family. Well, ironically, during the same time this happened, we've had over 30 people in the administration, 30 people resigned or quit in 2018 to 2019 law. We had the mayor, city attorney, city council president, the whole public relations staff, chief assistant, lieutenant, all I can think of at this time. But pretty much everyone resigned because they know what's coming, and they know what being exposed. So that should speak volumes why all these people quitting. It was right after I filed this complaint of what they've been covering up. And the city attorney, Tom Weber, has been the same attorney for the past 30 years, so he's fully aware of the corruption and dysfunction within law enforcement in the City of Gahanna. And he admitted during my hearing that he's aware of the dysfunctional culture. So there's a lot of things going on, a lot of things going on, and there's major things being covered up. I believe they do a lot of distraction, so that way you can't see what's going on. That's what the enemy does. The enemy always wants to confuse you, so you don't know what's going on. I mean, that's why they send a circus out in a carnival. So that's why they send a clown out in the circus. So when someone screws up or they're changing the prop, the clown is to distract from what's really going on. And that's what's happening in our government. And I think we're seeing it on a national level now with Russia, Ukraine, COVID, you name it. I mean, it's a mess right now. And I believe when all is revealed here in the near future, we're going to see what's really going on. And I believe all these distractions is just simply a clown distracting us. Going back to the mayor. So Franklin County Board of Elections, you heard that Franklin County Board of Elections here, which is in Columbus, Ohio, was placed on administrative review. And the private citizen requested public records from Franklin County Board of Elections on the mayor, city attorney, and city president. And Franklin County states we never got any petitions, we never got any withdrawal letters. I named and I have copies of it. So if they're corrupting even in the local level, stating they don't have the records, I have to agree that the whole election system is corrupted. And I think there needs to be an overhaul and accountability within our election system. Now, I can only speak of the local election. I can't speak of the presidential election, but I can speak that the Franklin County State, these petitions don't exist for these individuals that I announced, and I named and I copies of them. And number two, this IT director, there was an issue. There was a tax levy. I can't remember what the number was. There was a tax levy in 2019. The IT director, again, created a rule to delete email records regarding the election. We noticed, my coworker and I noticed that emails were being deleted, and I asked the IT director, did you make any changes? No, I didn't make any changes. I said, well, we should probably investigate it because it's got your name attached to it. So someone might have hacked into the system and use your ID to create rules to delete. Well, I didn't make, and he finally admits in the meeting, I didn't make any changes. The vendor made changes. I said, that's all right. The vendor said, we no longer have your contract. And the vendor at that time was HMD. Again, he switched the vendor, email vendor, to another vendor called Affiliated Group. Again, the mayor and IT director worked for this vendor, Affiliated Group, and Applied Innovations and AT&T. They've all worked in these vendors together. So by him switching the email vendor, didn't notify anyone in the IT department, the election emails were deleted from the system without our knowledge. Also, during the same time, the IT director disabled security cameras in law enforcement. No one in the IT department was aware that these cameras were disabled. This particular incident that I'm referring to, if you go to my website, makecybergreat.com, one of the issues, there were several issues that's causing the loss of law enforcement records. I believe they were intentional. One, they would test the generator that powered up law enforcement, and instead of announcing everyone in the law enforcement office instead of announcing to everyone, a page and everyone in the building, hey, we're doing a generator testing, save your work, shut down your computer, because when they do this generator testing, they shut the power off the building, and then they fire the generator up, and then they verify the generator's working. And then they turn the power off the building and turn the power back on to the generator. And every time they do this, it locks the 911 system, it locks the radio system, it fries the copiers, it loses numerous police and drug evidence report. And I repeatedly asked them, can we put a policy or procedure in place when you do this testing to page everyone, or can we schedule this testing so that everyone's aware of what's going on? Because every time you do this, you're causing all these issues in law enforcement, or equipment breaking, or data being corrupted, or database being corrupted. And I was told, you shut up, you effing deaf guy. And I'm saying, not at that time. Shut up, you idiot. Don't say anything. It's not, just fix it. Again, this is common what happens with the police administration. So this happened at least once a month. They tested this generator. And I believe these were at times when certain records need to be compromised. So that's my own opinion. And it'll be presented in court of law what records were manipulated or such not. And the other thing was, if you go to my website, makecybergreat.com, you'll see batteries so you have a car battery in the front of the car, which powers up the engine and such. Then you also have a car battery in the trunk. This car battery in the trunk is what powers the cruiser cameras and cruiser laptops. We call them MVPs. Cruiser MVPs, cruiser radios and lights. Because they were selected vendor that was not very efficient in wiring this up, they selected a vendor called BNC. They just throw whatever they can together. And what would happen, again, this is the Marine battery in the back of this cruiser. My opinion, my advice would to pit around this battery, because what's happening is officers are throwing 2-ton bullet jacks in the back of their car. They're throwing the big metal Slim Jim to unlock cars back there. They're throwing a bunch of equipment back there on the trunk. And you know, when you touch a metal equipment to a battery, it causes an outage or a surge or a shock. And it corrupted the computers. And I had to continually rebuild these computers or continually unlock these corrupted computers because of this incident. And I was told, don't worry about it, just do your job, fix it. But every time I brought up a concern, which is why I filed the OSHA complaint, and I was terminated in retaliation for filing that OSHA complaint, safety concern, because not only were they corrupting the computers at the suspicious times, and this was also the same time that a missing kid was happening. You also have flares. Every law enforcement officer had flares in the trunk. And if you go to my website, makecybergreat.com, you'll see pictures of these flares right next to these batteries with a 2-ton jack weight on top of it. And I was told, shut up, be quiet, we're not going to do nothing. And continually harassed by law enforcement, IT directors, and HR directors. And matter of fact, on my website, the video where the HR directors yelling, screaming, slamming their fist on the table, telling me not to document these things and telling me not to undermine authority. I said, I'm not undermining authority. I'm just asking for a policy procedure to prevent these from happening. So a lot of the electrical issues were going on. So at the 911 system, there were 3 dispatch terminals in the 911 center. The dispatchers, again, there was no policies or procedures, and I repeatedly asked for policies and procedures. Whenever their cell phones or iPhones were low, instead of plugging the iPhone into a wall outlet with a brick, they would plug their iPhone in the 911 computer or the radio system, USB ports. And by doing that, it attempts to install iTunes or whatever application they are, and it locks up the 911 system. Again, this is not an IT issue. This is lack of policy or ignorance or neglect of the FBI criminal justice law. And I was continually asked, and you'll see an email where I am formally reprimanded for bringing this up with the IT director and police administration because I wrote it in an email, and they were upset that it was a public record. So you have that going on. This caused the 911 system to go down because of neglect of the dispatcher not following. There's no policy. They won't create a policy. But again, they continually plug the phones in, locking up the system, blaming IT, and they point out this is not an IT issue. This is a neglect of the administration. The second thing that was happening as a result of these things, because I was getting the security cameras and I was documenting with the security camera how the system went down, kind of a CYA, hey, this ain't an IT issue. This is what happened. Well, there's also, I believe, I can't remember at this time, but the record on my website, makecybergreat.com, you'll see right next to the City of Gahanna Police Department, which is next to the Columbus International Airport, is Speedway. And we all know that Speedway got that special 79-cent big Slurpee drinks. Well, the dispatchers would get these big 79 Slurpee drinks and no lid, and they would continually spill these drinks all over the 911 system and radio system, causing it to go down. And you'll see a video of this on my website. And shortly after, I think that was the last straw for them because I kept documenting everything. Matter of fact, there was one time that they spilled this Speedway drink all over the keyboard, and they were upset they couldn't dispatch or do nothing. And I'm like, well, just get the spare keyboard out of the cabinet. You know where it is. Because we've always had to keep a spare keyboard in the cabinet because this happened. In my 2 years with City of Gahanna, I would say it happened no less than 20 times. That shows how ignorant and how they didn't care about public safety. I mean, a simple thing as a drink being spilled on keyboards or these iPhones locking up the computers. I've documented every one of them, and it's on my website. And I was reprimanded for documenting it and making it public records. And I post videos and pictures of this. Well, at the time I downloaded that security camera, dispatcher spilling the drink all over it, and they were upset with me because I said, you just go in the cupboard, the cabinet, have the spare keyboard. There's no spare keyboard. I said, well, again, it's your administration would create written work orders or documentation documenting when these keyboards go down, we'd make sure there's a keyboard in there for you. I'm sorry, it's not my responsibility to check that cabinet, make sure there's a spare keyboard in there. Again, they didn't want nothing documented because this affects 911 public safety for the whole city of Gahanna and other surrounding areas for 911 services. So shortly after that incident, unaware to me in the IT department, the IT director disabled the cameras so that way none of this stuff can be recorded. And somebody made a public record request. This was in December 2018. Someone made a public records request, I believe, in June 2019. And come to find out, we couldn't get it because they disabled the camera. And I'm asking the IT director who authorized the disabled camera. We didn't see no work orders. We don't see no emails regarding this. And again, this is law enforcement attempt to cover up serious public safety issues within our 911 system. And as you can see, City of Gahanna in the past several years had a lot of dispatchers and law enforcement officers resigned, and they are struggling right now to hire new dispatchers and officers because of the dysfunction within our law enforcement. So if you go to my other website, makeamazongreat.com, they fired or transferred 9 deaf employees at Amazon here in West Jeff, Ohio. So you're familiar with Ohio, okay? So West Jeff, Ohio, because they would not provide us ASL interpreters, they wouldn't provide us clear face masks, and they're writing up my coworker, pulling the mask down, talking to us, and they write them up, and they were forcing us to leave their hearing aid at security desk. Again, that's a whole other topic. MakeAmazonGreat.com. I just got terminated there September 10th, 2021 after filing the OSHA complaint. Oxford, Ohio, Miami University. They are testing the police application on COVID status on people in using Ohio BMV driver's license. The Ohio law enforcement has COVID status in the computer system scanning your BMV driver's license. You can test this by using Ohio test plate TST0068. The person's name on that plate is Larry VeggieTales. Law enforcement using LPR license plate readers. As you noticed, Ohio BMV Governor DeWine on November 8th, 2021 requires that all Ohio citizens to get new plates on any plates that's older than, I don't remember. There's a certain age of plates. They have to change their plates, even if you can read the plates. The reason is, that's what it is. They can't, if you have the gold Ohio license plate, you have to renew your plates because the LPR readers can't read them. But the Ohio law states that the plate does not have to be read by a computer. The plates have to be visually readable by law enforcement, which is, again, a violation of the law forcing Ohio citizens to get new license plate to fit the LPR technology when the law states that we have to visually read it by a law enforcement eyes, not by LPR technology. Again, they're using this, the LPR technology being used in the state of Ohio is called LSAG or variant, which tracks every license plate readers and every Ohio citizen here in the state of Ohio using this system. I believe would violate a lot of citizen violation law. There is good use for it. I don't disagree with that. But again, if there's no policy or enforcement of our existing policy, these systems can violate our own privacies. So as a tip, as a former law enforcement IT person, you don't have to have front placement anymore. And anytime you're parking, to back your car into a parking lot, because law enforcement, the LPR readers can't read your license plate as officers go up and down the parking lots. So again, as I stated, Oxford, you can go to 10 TV or CNN, and you can Google the story on Oxford University. Again, I've requested public records from the Oxford Police Department, how Miami University and Ohio Department of Public Safety, and I'm not getting any responses to my public records request. Let me get the date of the 10 TV news, where 10 TV admits that law enforcement scanned BMV license plate and driver's license, and the statuses show up in the computer systems here. Let me look real quick here. Governor DeWine and Ohio Department of Public Safety forcing everyone to get the new ones because the LPR readers can't read them. But the law states that the license plate just has to be readable by eye by a law enforcement officer.
Okay, so you're saying the tracking cameras can't read them?
The gold ones, correct. The gold plates.
Gotcha.
I'll read what the 10 TV states. This is on 10 TV website, and it's also on CNN website. Oxford, Ohio College student test positive for coronavirus. Throw party is the name of the title. Police body, again, I've requested this police body camera footage, and the law enforcement provided footage, but even though 10 TV had the footage, and again, 10 TV won't provide the footage publicly either. Police body camera footage shows an Oxford, Ohio officer pulling up to the house and learning that there are more than 20 people inside. Many do not live there. Oxford is the home of Miami University. After telling the party to clear out, the officer checked the license of one of the residents. I've never seen this before. There's an input on the computer that he tested positive for COVID. The student confirmed it, and he's been diagnosed positive with COVID. That's all I can say at this time. I can't really say much more without public records. As an IT, I've been involved in as a deaf person with the ability to read lips. I have a lot of information that I don't feel comfortable publicly announcing anything about public records. But you can investigate that and request Oxford Police Department, Oxford, Miami University. How do they know that your COVID vaccinating status by scanning your license plate according to the 10 TV or CNN story. And I'm going to leave it at that. I met with the House Department of Public Safety Traffic Coordinator, Police Moretti, and the administration officials in the House Department of Public Safety. One of the things I can tell you is, as an IT professional, when you do a traffic report is called an OH1. When you do a traffic report, you can mark it fatality or non-fatality. It's just a checkbox. You bring up the report, they'll say non-fatality. But you look in the database, and it's just a 1 or 0. You have to understand database and understand the systematic, I guess. It can be very confusing because it's a bunch of columns. But if you look in the fatality and non-fatality column, every one of them fatality. But if you bring up the report, they'll say non-fatality. So we'll have to ask ourselves, why does the database say fatality when it doesn't match the report? Now, if our traffic data could be manipulated for funds and grants, law enforcement funds and grants come from Ohio Department of Public Safety, and inside of Ohio Department of Public Safety is OCJIS, which is Ohio Criminal Justice Services. And what they do is they get grants from the federal government based on traffic and law enforcement data. I can testify that law enforcement data are being manipulated, not in the best interest of citizens. And one example of that is traffic data, fatality, and non-fatality. And I brought this to the attention of the Ohio Department of Public Safety Traffic Director, Police Moretti, and Colonel Bambo. I've had private conversations. I won't mention her name because I don't want them to be retaliated. But I've had numerous private conversations with my friends and family and law enforcement and the drug corruption and what they've seen. And it makes me sick that no one speaks up. And I understand why, because I finally had about 2 years where I couldn't sleep because as an IT professional, I can see everything. I mean, an officer can only see hit stop. As a detective, I can see every record, every email. So when I hear these little side conversations going on, and I see these records being manipulated, I'm starting to connect the dots. And it got to a point where I couldn't sleep, and I had to speak up. And I can tell you, since I've been terminated, I sleep very well. It's like a burden off my shoulder, but unfortunately, I lost my job. I'm in the middle of foreclosure right now. I have a lot of threats coming against me. But I have Jesus. So as long as I have Jesus, the storms will come, but I'm not scared. One thing I'll tell you is on my website, or Gab, most of this information on Gab that I'm speaking to you, and most of the details are in Gab. My handle, Make Cyber Great. The day before I was terminated, my house caught on fire. You can see this on the website. My front porch caught on fire. There's no electric outlet. There's no nothing. I don't smoke. None of this. The fire department, who we know is close to the police department, the fire department came out to my house, and they did not have water to put it out. So I had to grab a garden hose and put this fire out myself. And the fire department is only 1 mile from my house, which should speak volumes. Why they didn't have water to put it out? How did my house fire before I got terminated? So I asked the Ohio Fire Marshal and Ohio Insurance Board to investigate. They refused to investigate. And I said, well, you need to investigate why the fire department didn't have water. Do they need training? I mean, my neighbors are very concerned that my house caught on fire and your fire department didn't have water to put it out. Either they didn't know how to put it out or they didn't check the water. I don't know. And the state insurance board said, no, we won't investigate. And the Ohio Fire Marshal said, no, we won't investigate. So basically, the insurance just paid off my fire damages, but there was no investigation And at the time, I was still employed with City of Gahanna. And then I went to work the next day, and that's when I get my termination papers, and that's when I was threatened by the HR director. You'll see my video on my website. If you tell anybody, we'll have the cops knock on your door. So this is how much threat I've been under, and this was the day before I was terminated, the house catching fire. And then the day I was driving home, when I was terminated from City of Gahanna, my brakes started acting weird. And then a week later, you can see my website. I was driving in Grove City, Ohio, and my the brake caliper's got two big 6-inch bolts holding the calipers on. Are you familiar with the brake caliper?
Yeah.
Okay. So you got some two big 6-inch bolts holding your brake caliper. I was driving down Grove City, near 71-665, and you'll see my video of Grove City Police helping me. Officer Coleman, he's a real good friend of mine. My brake caliper falls off. The bolt's missing. I didn't want to think much about it, so I went ahead and fixed it up. I just got a new bolt, replaced the brake pad, replaced everything. And I got rid of that car, and I got a truck. A week after I got my truck, the same thing happened. The brake caliper bolt is missing, and the brake caliper fell off. And I drove my truck around, and then my rear differential was making a weird noise. And I took it in the shop, and they said, your rear differential axle reservoir drain is empty. And so I had to get rid of my truck, and I got a car. I get my car, another car, and I noticed that the oil was completely empty. Go to my oil filter. My oil filter was two or three hand cranks loose, like I could turn it with my hand. And so I'm not speculating someone did anything, I'm just stating the facts and timeline, that it makes me look like I'm a crazy guy. But if you go on my website, you'll see I met with Wendy Rogers. You familiar with Wendy Rogers?
Yes.
Yeah, so, and Jenna Ellis?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so I met with Wendy Rogers and Jenna Ellis. I was fired from the Ohio Department of Public Safety September 1st. August 31st, remember Dayton, Ohio had that election integrity in Dayton, Ohio?
Mm-hmm.
I was at the election integrity meeting with Wendy Rogers and Jenna Ellis, and I shared my story with them, and they said the same thing happened to them. Anyone that's speaking gets retaliation, gets things made up, and stuff like that. And so I can't tell you if I was terminated for attending that election integrity meeting, because I was fired from the Ohio Department of Public Safety 8 hours after meeting Wendy Rogers and Jenna Ellis. You'll see my pictures with them on my website, and so it's just a lot of coincidence timelines. I can say at this time.
Thank you for listening to American Education FM. Make sure and check out AmericanEducationFM.com for more information. Take care and God bless.